Have you ever had a guest who completely rewrote your idea of normal? I thought I had until the weekend at my West 47th Street flat. It began on a gray Thursday afternoon. I was finishing the usual turnover, cleaning the tiny bathroom tiles, flipping pillows, and leaving a few local snack bars on the counter. The flat is small but cozy, with those classic Hell's Kitchen high ceilings and that faint smell of city brick that somehow feels like home. The guest was a man named Victor. He booked for 3 nights, no reviews, and his profile was minimal. Just a name and a photo of him holding a large, suspicious-looking umbrella. He arrived early evening, slightly disheveled, carrying a backpack that looked heavier than it should for a short stay. He barely made eye contact and muttered something like, "Thanks." Quiet weekend first signs of unusual behavior came within the hour. I got a text. "Do you mind if I bring some friends over for a workshop?" I asked what kind of workshop. He replied vaguely, "Article, light and sound." Okay, that sounded normal enough. By 9 p.m., I got a knock at the building door. 2 people I didn't know were standing there, holding canvases and a strange assortment of instruments. Victor smiled sheepishly. "They're part of my session," he said. I nodded politely, reminded him the building walls are paper thin, and hoped for the best. What followed was something I'll never forget. The art workshop turned into a full, multi-sensory performance. Victor had set up candles in the living room, a small speaker system, and some kind of water and ink experiment on the dining table. His friends started chanting while dripping colored water onto paper and plastic trays, all while ambient music played. I stood at the doorway, coffee in hand, thinking, is this allowed? I tried to leave them to it, reasoning that the flat was sturdy, and maybe I'd just witnessed a very modern art project. But then, at midnight, the neighbor downstairs called, "Is that water and chanting?" I laughed nervously. Explained it was a creative session. She didn't sound convinced. By morning, the flat was covered in small splatters of paint, none on the walls, thankfully, but the papers, trays, and instruments were strewn everywhere. Victor had even set up a tiny pyramid of teacups on the balcony. I braced for a lecture or a complaint, but when I checked in, he greeted me calmly and said, "Don't worry, I clean as I go." And he did. By checkout, every cup, tray, and sheet of paper had been cleared. The flat looked immaculate. I started to relax until I saw it. On the kitchen counter, Victor had left a small glass jar filled with colored water. On the lid was a note in tiny handwriting for the apartment, to keep the energy alive. I stared at it for a long moment. Colored water in a jar for my apartment. Somehow, despite all the chaos, it felt thoughtful. Creepy, maybe, but thoughtful. I never did find out what the workshop was for exactly. And sometimes, when I clean the flat between guests, I notice that jar quietly sitting on the counter, catching the light from the window. I've left it there. Hosting teaches you a lot about people, and about the weird little surprises that can come with them. Victor wasn't loud, destructive, or rude. He was that bit's different, and somehow that weekend he turned a regular Hell's Kitchen flat into a temporary gallery and left a tiny piece of it behind. So yeah, have I ever had a guest who rewrote my idea of normal? Victor did, and every time I see that jar I can't help but smile and wonder what he'll dream up next.